why more of us are sharing our homes. Holly, you dubbed one of your housemates King of the Arseholes. How did he earn that nickname?
He was a bit of a grot. He wouldn't pull his weight during rent inspections and stuff like that. He would leave pee all over the toilet seat consistently. He wouldn't tell us about damages in the house. One time one of the walls was leaking and he didn't think that that was an urgent thing to alert us to. And another time he let his ceiling get like 70% black mould coverage and we didn't know until we had a rent inspection. So yeah, he was just a bit difficult to live with.
How did he come to live with you?
One of the girls that was living with us was moving out and she said, I've got someone that's keen to swap in, and we'd done that before and had no issue. So we went, oh yeah, sure, no worries, come along. Should have vetted him a little bit harder. But
how bad did it get?
It got to the point where I had just become a crazy person myself. One time I resorted to trying to fight fire with fire. People kept leaving food in the strainer in the sink, and so I took it out and put it on the table in a little bowl, and when they all went, ew, that's really disgusting, I was like, yeah, that's why I've been trying to get you guys to put it in the bin. That was not fun. And then I was so stressed by it that I was starting to feel like physically unwell, and I ended up just going, nah, I'm out, and living with mum and crashing on her couch for a while.
Margaret, you've been subletting a room in your home for the past year. Can you relate to Holly's experience of housemates behaving badly?
Yeah, I have a horror story. He made me feel very unsafe. I felt threatened a lot. It got so bad that I didn't invite friends over anymore. I felt I couldn't go anywhere without answering to him. It got so bad that I had to put surveillance cameras up because I couldn't trust him. He was lying to me all the time. So I always felt threatened, yes.
Have you had tenants since then?
I had a lovely couple from a farming area in Kenya. Beautiful couple, honest, respectful. But I've never met anyone that can cook 3 to 4 times a day. It got to the point where I'd walk in the kitchen and think, I can't do this. There'll be a pile of clean dishes on one side, a pile of dirty dishes on the other side. And even though she cleaned up all the time, it was, I can't do this, and I'll just walk out and maybe just have some toast instead. I lost my space.
You call your home a sanctuary. How do you feel about having to share your space?
I like to come home in peace and quiet, and if it's hot, strip off and things like that. So I like to feel relaxed in my own home, and I couldn't feel relaxed. I felt stressed, and there were times when I felt I needed to have some time out or go to the beach or go for a walk in the bush and not be able to just chill out at home.
Did you ever have housemates sign leases with you?
No, I wanted the flexibility of being able to say, hey, this isn't working, please move out, give them within reasonable notice. I just didn't want to have the hassle of having to go through the whole legal process and then having to, sign things and say why I want them out and so forth.
Why do you have to have housemates?
50 to 60% of my wages went into rent, and I found that I couldn't save any money for a rainy day, car expenses. I was working to pay to live in a house.
Have you ever thought about relocating to somewhere that's a bit more affordable?
That's not really possible. For me to do that, that would mean I'd have to go out in the middle of Woolpoop in a country town somewhere, and then I'd have employment issues. Also, I've got 2 dogs and a cat, and even though the laws have changed on pet ownership in rentals, I doubt most landlords would be happy with having that many pets in a house. And me being on my own, I'm very unlikely to get anything more than a 2-bedroom home.
Yvonne, you're paying off your own home. You were in your 60s when you started taking on housemates.
Yes.
Why was that?
I was in a low-income job. I'm a performance poet. We're not overpaid. And I wanted to continue staying in my home. The university approached me and asked me if I would take in some international students.
If you didn't sublet your home, what would your living situation be?
I'd be in aged care.
Had you lived with strangers before?
Yes. Yes, I have. Luckily, in my own home, I can choose the strangers that I live with. But I was that student that lived in those houses, that everybody stole everybody else's milk and brought total undesirables home who made lots of noise.
How many people would you say you've shared with over the past 15 years?
Oh, a lot. Because not only do I have my house guests, but I volunteer under a scheme called Help Exchange, where total strangers, young people, come and do 2 or 4 hours work a day with you in the home for a cultural exchange and free board. And they're from everywhere.
What do you look for in a housemate?
I look for someone who could be culturally fit into the house, and because I grew up in one Asian country and worked a long years in another, I do veer towards people who come from some of the Asian countries.
When someone comes to say, hey, I would love to live in your house, how do you choose?
Oh, well, we drink tea. I said once it was a little bit like an arranged marriage. You come into my home, you meet the others, we drink tea and we are so polite. And then you leave and we talk about you.
Wei Song, you moved to Australia more than a decade ago to study engineering. You first lived in student housing. What was that like?
Well, actually, I just got an invitation from my friend who is studying at University of Tasmania. And at the beginning, it feels like back home because all the Chinese there. We just making Chinese food, dumplings, like that.
Was that helping your English, for example?
Actually, not at all.
Yeah.
Not even little, because we just speak Chinese as simple for us. Yeah.
You then moved in with Yvonne.
Yeah.
How was living with Yvonne different?
Well, it's totally different. Well, in Yvonne's house, I feel more like a member of her family, not just a guest. Because she took me to do the Blue Festivals for the music, camping, and International Toastmasters Speaking Club.
When you first moved in with Yvonne, how long did you plan on staying?
Well, in the beginning, I planned just 5 weeks, and now it's over 12 years.
Over 12 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. What's your relationship like today?
Like her son?
Oh, like she's your Aussie mum.
Yeah, that's right.
Does she give you advice?
Yes, a lot of. She gave me the birthday party every year.
Oh.
And yeah, birthday cake she made, and candies, and gifts, everything.
Akshay, as a uni student, you also lived in a share house. What was that experience like?
It was like a snippet of He Died with a Falafel in His Hand by John Birmingham. So it was a bunch of guys. We all lived together. We didn't know each other from beforehand. But I think it was pretty clear that a lot of people didn't know how to look after themselves. So despite being fully grown adult men, I think aiming was a bit of an issue at times. Cleaning the sink after you shave, that was an issue. Yeah, walking out the shower and then just leaving a pool of wetness on the floor, that was also an issue. But then we come to the kitchen and I don't think a lot of people knew how to cook properly. Yeah, if someone got creative and decided to make a meal, you'd find splatters from the roof to the floor to everywhere. We tried to do a system of allocating tasks to people. That kind of fell apart really quickly. And yeah, there were many times that I almost came to a breaking point, but got through it and then got myself out as soon as I could.
So you got a place for yourself?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Did you miss the share house life?
Ooh. I don't think I missed any part of it. No, I really liked being in my own space, my own home, my own haven. But at times, living by yourself in a shoebox, close to where you work, it doesn't make financial sense to be sacrificing 40 to 50, even more % of your after-tax income just to live in a shoebox.
Do you still live alone?
No, I actually ended up moving back with my folks. They're in their 70s, they're retired. So we live very different lifestyles. I'm out first thing in the morning, back home close to the evening, and we've got different timetables, different schedules, but we make it work. I help out here and there, I take care of the bills, and for the most part, it's pretty harmonious.
Shaz, do you see yourself as a typical housemate?
Probably not the most typical housemate. So I've just had 2 years of being a empty nester. It's been fantastic to have my own space. And I've literally just become a housemate again to my youngest boy, who has just turned 33. So before he even knows that he's coming back home, I need to know why. Why do you want to come to me? Why is there no other issue? Why can't you go somewhere else? Right. So you listen through all that, and then I go, okay, I have my space, you need to have your space. Who's going to be cleaning stuff? The rent is this, electricity is this amount. For me, that has actually been quite a good thing because my work has changed, my income has gone down, and he has actually, he'll know this now that he's going to see this, helped me to survive and literally pay my rent and be there. I'm helping him, but he's helping me, and that's about two adults living together. I love having the company in the house. It's really quite good every now and again to have people there. I just kind of wish the dog wasn't there.
Why do you think it's becoming sort of, I guess, more common for your situation?
I think everyone knows that. It's around money and cost and housing and availability and affordability. You get that, please mum, can I come home? And I go, well, if you come home, I'm not mum. We're adults sharing in a house together. And there's another little issue in that the fact that I'm a nudist. So in my house, we have issues and we need to make sure that that's okay.
You're the president of the Australian Naturist Federation. What is a naturist?
A naturist is the beautiful political correct term for a nudist.
How does that affect how you and your son share your space?
I'm very lucky with the younger son because he's actually a nudist as well. He's taken on the understanding of the lifestyle. The other two did not and weren't. So I'm naked all over the house. As soon as I come home, everything's gone. And that's me. Inside, outside, whatever, except for the front yard, of course, we've got laws. And in Adelaide, they're a little bit differently. So when he comes home, or they come home, he in particular will know that I'm naked. It won't be a problem. The problem we have is the people that they bring home. People I bring home know I'm a naturist and they know that that I'm going to get naked. It's sort of part of that conversation you go. But we have had people where the door will open and he'll go, I'm just looking, and he'll look around the corner and she goes, nope, she's got nothing on, and I'll go, is everything okay? Because I'm not there to shock people, I'm just there to live my natural life. And if they have a problem, I'll put something on. First visit, second visit, my home, my rules.
Right. Jocelyn, you had your first house share experience at 23 when you were living with 5 others. Do you think you were a good housemate?
Yeah, I think I was a great housemate. I grew up as an only child with just me and my mum. I moved from Perth to Sydney for a romantic relationship, which didn't last, and just had to go and share with strangers.
So what kind of housemate were you?
I kept to myself. I thought that might be the best way to live with other people, was just to mind my own business and keep to myself. But they were really looking for someone to share their life with and go to the pub with and sit around and have dinner together and that kind of thing. And I kind of just stayed away from that.
So the perfect housemate in the sense you're paying your rent on time, you're cleaning,
Quiet.
You're not causing a problem.
Yes.
Was that difference a source of conflict?
I think so, yes. Ultimately, they voted me out.
Oh. So how did that happen?
They actually had a house vote. I wasn't invited. They had a house vote and decided to get rid of me. And they asked me to come in and sit with them and said, look, we've had this discussion and we all want you to leave.
So you were evicted?
Yes, pretty much.
What impact did being asked to leave have on you?
I was devastated. I was really upset. I was living there for about 3 months and they had this meeting. It happened pretty quickly. Wow. They had this meeting and sort of said, you need to leave. So I just looked as quickly as possible. I just thought, I need to be out of here as quickly as possible.
Charlotte, you're originally from the UK. Around 5 years ago, you were sharing with an older man. Did you two get along?
I entered into the tenancy agreement and I moved into the property without being fully aware of what that individual was like. So when I first went and viewed the property, he came across as very easy to get on with. He came across as relatively nonchalant, had a good job, communicated well. We seemed like we would be quite compatible. Within only about 3 days of moving into the apartment, I noticed that there were belongings that weren't present when I had viewed the property, such as Bibles that were being left around the apartment, quite a lot of religious paraphernalia, and then he placed a cross on my bedroom door. I went to work one day, and when I came back, there was a Bible on my bedside table. I approached a conversation with him and I said, I would appreciate it if first and foremost you didn't enter my bedroom without informing me that you intend to do so. I have no issue if there's a maintenance problem or if you have a reason to go there, but please let me know ahead of time so I can ensure that there's nothing, revealing around. But also, please don't put your personal religious beliefs onto me.
Why do you think he was doing that, putting a cross on your door, leaving a Bible on your bed?
I like to think that it comes from good intentions. Perhaps he was just trying to share his faith with me, but unfortunately it became slightly controlling and there were definitely boundaries that were crossed that I didn't appreciate. I think that there is a beauty in people trying to share knowledge about different religions without making people follow them. I like to learn about different religions and different culture, but that doesn't mean that I myself am going to convert or start practicing.
Did you ever meet any of his friends or family?
When I first moved in, I was under the impression it would just be him and I residing in the property. I would be in the master ensuite and he would have the spare bedroom. He was the landlord, but he just wanted somebody to cover the bills. Within a couple of days, noticed that there was a third person that was present in the apartment a lot. I noticed him staying over a lot in my landlord's bedroom. He was coming over more and more and more, and then it was sort of soft launched to me that he did in fact live in the property. But my landlord maintained that they were in a completely platonic relationship and that he would in no means go against the word of the Bible. Now, I will say I absolutely support any LGBTQ relationship, and I myself, as I mentioned, am not religious. But when I met his family one day, they came to the apartment and they were so pleased to meet me. They could not be more thrilled, and they said, we've heard so much about you, we can't believe that he's found someone. And I was thinking, how long did it take him to find a tenant? This is just insane. I had no idea. They thought, and they were under the impression that I was his partner. He had informed his family that I was his fiancée. I was living in the master bedroom with him, and that his, I assume, partner was the tenant in the spare bedroom. Had he told me or had he warned me, I absolutely would have been more than happy to cover for him, because I think it's awful that due to the religion he follows, he can't be his true self. I would have been more than happy to be his pretend girlfriend or partner or fiancée or whatever for the front of his family. But the entire dynamic was completely ridiculous and very insecure, and it made me feel really uncomfortable as a tenant to be living with someone that not only lied to me but lied about me.
How did you react?
So I excused myself initially. I said, it's so lovely to meet you too. I was very polite and courteous to the family because, of course, that isn't something to address then and there. I don't want to expose anyone, and I was trying to be cautious with my language so as not to in any way disrespect my landlord. But after he shut down completely and essentially stopped communicating with me, communication went very sour when it did occur over small things. And I tried to approach the subject on a couple of occasions, but he just became quite, I would say, passive-aggressive, but also in some circumstances actually aggressive, unfortunately.
You came back one day to your home, you found things had changed. What had happened?
I came home to the apartment one day completely unsuspecting. I'd paid my rent for the month only 2 days prior, and I returned to the property and I tried my key and the locks weren't working. I noticed that in the hallway, because I had a fob to get up to the top floor, there were boxes, piles of boxes, and I assumed that the person in the apartment opposite, because there were 2 apartments on that floor, were potentially moving out. But when I looked, it had my name written on it and box 1, box 2, box 3, piles and piles of them. And all of my belongings, really bizarrely, had been individually wrapped. So an individual pair of underwear or socks, for example, had all been individually wrapped, and it was so incredibly bizarre, all in boxes, and the keys had been changed.
Wow. Where did that leave you in terms of housing?
So fortunately, and I know that not everybody is in this situation, I had somebody at the time that I was able to call and say, may I stay with you? It's a bit of an emergency. And they immediately dropped everything and came to help me with their car, took the boxes, and I was able to go there for a period of time before I found somewhere else. But it was certainly a moment of extreme stress and uncertainty, and also just complete violation.
Alexa, you moved out of home 3 years ago. You're now sharing with 14 others. Let's see what that looks like.
Hello, hi, welcome to the Paz. Come on in. There is 15 people in this intentional community here. The purpose of it is really all about sustainability, communal living, social justice. We do so much communally. We work on the garden together, we share food together, we cook dinner and have dinner together most nights of the week. I think that's really the heart of La Paz. There's a huge age diversity here. The youngest is 18 and the oldest is, I think, 52.
It's very unconventional, but we all get along really well, and it's just really refreshing. Like, I'm in my mid-40s and I get to spend a lot of time with people in their late teens, early 20s, 30s, and a few older than me, and it's lovely. It just brings a really refreshing perspective. We need higher standards, perhaps higher than the average like 3, 4, 5 person share house, because there's so many people. We need to be on top of things. We need to like wash up straight away after our meals and keep things tidy and clean, keep our own stuff in our own spaces. Otherwise, it very quickly descends into chaos. The Kitchen Crimes Act is a bit of a joke, really. We gradually over time established that everybody has their little pet hates that other people do. Like, mine is the cloth crime. I really get frustrated when people like leave the cloth from the sink like scrunched up and wet and not rinsed and wrung out and hung out to dry.
I reckon the ice crime is pretty bad, which is when you don't refill the ice container.
I'll give a crime that I've just realised that I do, which is I leave the dry dishes, like a pile of dry dishes on the drying rack.
I think a lot of people in today's society are looking for community. They're looking for a deeper connection. I think everyone who lives here is united by sharing these values and committing to kind of live our life through those values.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Not to be cliche, but it really feels like a family.
Alexa, that is a lot of people. Do you have much privacy?
Yeah, I think so. It's a large house, 2 houses actually, like right next to each other with a shared backyard and one shared kitchen. We all have our own rooms, and I think we managed to get the balance really right between privacy and communal living.
What about bathrooms?
We have 4 bathrooms. I share my bathroom with 4 other people, and yeah, that feels like a really manageable amount of people to share a bathroom with.
Are there rules around who can live there?
Yeah, La Paz is based on shared values. And so people who want to move into La Paz fill out an expression of interest form, and then with a few questions about their life and their values, and then we have an interview process and we make decisions about which housemate we're accepting at house meetings, which happen about once a month or a bit more.
Naomi, you're one of Alexa's housemates and an original member of La Paz. You're involved in the selection process. What's the most important criteria?
I think definitely shared values for us. Because we have that as like a guiding light that unites us, it really brings us together, and we have a vision for what we want to create together. And so all of the little things and the bits of feedback that might be required along the way have a greater purpose, because we're attempting to create a bit of the world that we want to see. Like, there's a lot of problems in society and a lot of challenges, and we're supporting each other to live in this communal existence together and create a glimpse of a better type of future.
Was it a financial decision for you to share with so many people?
Not at all, no. I would definitely prefer to live in community. It feels like a village life, and I love that. And I'd probably pay extra, really, but it is of financial benefit, absolutely. Like, it's just very economical, and in so many ways it enriches my life, and definitely not pushed there out of like financial need.
Shaz, you're a naturist. Have you lived with housemates who may not share your love of nudity?
I remember living in a house with several of my girlfriends from school, and, you know, we were together all the time at school, and then after school we got jobs and we decided to live together. I was me. I was being, you know, free in my home, and one of the girls in particular was quite religious, just Catholic Christian religion, but she was constantly saying to me that I was depraved and that it was wrong, and I had to go to church with her and repent and change my values and be that process. And it was really difficult to be told that I was wrong of who I was. And I grew up in a house where we were free, so I didn't see anything wrong with this. You know, bodies are beautiful, bodies aren't. Going through teenage years, you know, having that problem with your body, and that being in a comfortable position and being told by someone that you really kind of love because they're your girlfriends, that you're wrong and you're depraved and that you need to change. It was kind of difficult.
Can you live with people who you disagree with?
It depends upon the disagreement, okay? If you can understand that people live a different life, that's not a problem, and we all have different values. But when they push their values onto you and they do not allow you to have your own, then that becomes a problem. So it's not going to happen.
Holly, you lived with a housemate you dubbed King of Assholes. You ended up staying with your mum because of the conflict. Did things improve when you moved back?
Kind of. So I only moved back in thinking that the housemates at the time were going to be leaving. So I thought that I'd have my peace finally. But then one of them just decided that, nah, I'm not going anywhere. And it was pretty noticeable that I'd been gone. I was at mum's for like at least a month or something on the couch because I didn't want to be there. And when I came back, the yard was up to my knees, stains, mouldy food, just kind of dishevelled in general. So yeah.
I think we have a photo that we can show. This was, what's going on here?
That is a result of one of them consistently not wiping up after himself, and it was so much that it was coming out the back hinge, and we're like, oh, what is this mystery yellow goo? It was pee. So
oh, no.
Yeah.
What did you decide to do?
It was a bit difficult because the other tenants didn't seem as stressed out by him as I was, and so they wanted to keep living with him because they kind of had a friendship already established. And then it just worked out that there was a job opportunity for one of them, so they went off. And then it got to the point where it was about a week after he was supposed to have moved out, and he was just saying, nah, I'm not going anywhere. And I was feeling really desperate because I didn't know what I was legally allowed to do, because he kind of technically was a subtenant, and so they have to have a certain amount of notice, which I had done, but he hadn't followed. And the next step looked like I'd be calling the police and saying like, hey, come and get him. And to try and avoid that, I was desperately messaging people on social media like, please come and, get your son. I don't have to arrest him. I don't have to call the cops.
And so how did you eventually get him to leave?
I had to call the local police and say, what am I actually allowed to do here? And they said, oh, he's squatting, we can come and escort him off the property if you would like to. And I told him that. I passed that on and said, if you're not out by, I think it was like 10, then I'm going to have to call the police and get them to ask you to leave. And magic, he cleared his room out.
Has this experience changed how you vet prospective housemates?
Now, I don't just trust friend recommendations, for sure. And I think even though it is still a bit of a gamble, you might get along with them great when you first meet them and you don't really know until you live with them.
Nicole, after COVID, you were looking for a fresh start. Where did you go?
I moved to the beach because I was just, we very suddenly had lost a business, our house and my husband all at once. And I thought if I was going to live in a shitter house, I may as well do it at the beach. And so, yeah, I just started afresh.
Could you afford to live there on your own?
I guess technically, I'm a podiatrist, so I can earn really good money. But I was conscious that I was starting from fresh, really, at 50, and thinking that was not very long of working as a podiatrist to try to earn enough to retire on eventually. So I was looking for options of how can I do this cheaper. But I knew someone who knew someone that was moving out of a place, so I did it before it hit the market.
In that place, there was a shed in the garden. What did you
Yeah.
decide to do with that?
I did it up myself. They were looking to demolish the place eventually, so I knew they wouldn't put any money into it themselves. So I just got down and got cheap paint and painted it inside and out because I thought it would eventually pay for itself if I got somebody in.
So converting that into a living space.
I just made it into a space that I could put somebody in there because I didn't know that I'd love sharing a house with somebody again. I was thinking, oh yeah, I get along with everybody. And then I was thinking of all the things that annoy me about people. I thought, oh no, maybe I don't want to share a house with people after all. I don't like loud music and I don't like perfume. Yeah.
How did your search for a housemate go?
I had 3 women, but they didn't work out for various reasons. So after that, I thought, I'll just have a look, and I don't kind of care if it's a guy this time.
So you're thinking, it can be a guy.
Yeah.
You then saw an ad that caught your eye. What did it say?
It just said something. He didn't even have pictures, but I am extremely trusting. I sort of trust all the people. But it did start off with something like him being a practicing Buddhist, and he just wanted somewhere to be quiet and to meditate, which sounded like a perfect person to have in your backyard.
Did he give you any other details?
I messaged him and then promptly fell asleep. And when I woke up, he'd said, oh yeah, this sounds great. And I said, oh cool, give me a call. But it was like 5:30 in the morning or something. I wasn't thinking he would get it straight away, but he rang me at 5:30 in the morning and just said, yeah, that's great. And he caught the first bus to me, which made me realise he didn't have a car. And yeah, he said he had nowhere to stay at the time, and so he was sitting up in McDonald's just and saw my message and sort of came straight away.
Broden, it was your ad Nicole responded to. What was your experience of trying to find housing before you met?
Well, I was staying with my mother for a while, just after a long-term relationship ended, and then I had to end that, and I didn't have anywhere to go. So I was only without a place for a few days. I tried to get emergency accommodation, and that's actually really difficult to get. They just sort of told me, like, sorry. So I made an ad on Flatmates because I had a Centrelink income, so like I had money to pay to rent somewhere. It's just that it's hard to find.
After you met up with Nicole, what happened?
So I just explained my situation, and which would have sounded just bizarre to anybody. And I look like I've been up for sitting at McDonald's all night. And then she just sort of gave me the keys and said, I've got to go to work and just move your stuff in now. And I was like,
oh wow.
I was just ready for sort of more challenging, or probably a rejection, to be honest.
Wow, so she asked you to move in straight away?
Yeah.
Did that surprise you?
Yeah, totally.
What was running through your head when that happened?
Yeah, either it was like she could see that I was trustworthy in that, or she was like mental. But I was like that. I was so grateful just to have a place like after not sleeping and stuff. I was just like, thank you so much, and I just moved my stuff in and just
Nicole, after Broden moved in, what did you learn about him?
He's just really grateful. I think I like people that can see gratitude in everything. I felt, don't get me wrong, I know it sort of seems like, oh, you're so nice, you took in a homeless guy. That's like, I wanted somebody to help me pay the rent. And it was that initially, and I definitely, in the end, definitely wanted to help him. And I think I just found a text message from him when he'd been there 2 weeks, and it said, oh no, I didn't know you were home. Oh, sorry if it seems like crazy that I was talking to myself and singing, but I like to sing to the spiders, so I stay on their good side.
There was a lot of spiders around, and I was trying not to kill them.
Yeah.
Broden, what's it been like living with Nicole?
Different, but great, because I was going through a lot of sort of depression at the time, and just to see someone who just had a natural, just a energy that, you know, is always dragging me out to do stuff and meet me, and I'm always just like, no, I don't really want to, but I would tell them, I was like, I'm going to say yes to everything. Try and like change my attitude and get a better attitude. So I was doing that, and it was, I was just kept busy a lot of the time, too busy to focus on my own problems for a while, and I think that really helps.
Billy, you answered an ad for a female housemate. You don't quite seem to fit that criteria.
Yeah.
What made you apply?
Yeah, so I was working at the time away from my hometown. I was living with a mate who relocated for work. So it was a matter of either taking over the lease and finding a new housemate to share with, or find somewhere else to live where I was working. So I jumped on flatmates.com to have a look, and I found a great ad which was put up by Sarah. And it was very detailed, it sounded great, perfect location. And then at the bottom it said looking for women only. I was like, oh, damn. But I was like, oh, look, I'll message anyway and, you know, see what she thinks about, you know, sharing with a guy. So I did that, and a day or so later I heard back from her.
Sarah, how did you react when Billy responded to your ad?
I'd been looking for a couple of weeks, and I had advertised for women only. I wanted someone like roughly my age and working full time, and no one really suitable had applied. So then when Billy applied, I was like, well, he is working full time and he is my age, and he looked lovely. Like, I thought, oh, he looks like a friendly sort of person. So I said, okay, what the heck, come around and have a look at the place. And when I met him, I just got a good vibe from him. So I thought, all right, I'll give it a shot.
What was that good vibe?
He just seems lovely. Like, he just came to the house, he took his shoes off, he was like complimenting the house, and he was asking me things like, do you want me to bring my own plates or use yours, or do you want me to buy the same as yours so that they match? And I was like, oh, it's fine.
Very thoughtful.
Yeah, I just thought, and yeah, he was just, I don't know, his vibe was just so sweet and like a gentleman, and he didn't feel like threatening, like to live with a stranger that was a guy. I thought like I could feel a bit funny about that, but he just seemed like a gentle person. So
you agreed to let him move in?
Yeah.
How did your family feel about it?
My nan was sort of like, you're going to live with what? Yeah, they were kind of like, my dad looked him up online, and all my friends were looking up on Facebook, and they were like, have you looked him up? I'm like, no, like I met him. Like, I got a personal vibe check, and so they were concerned until they met him. He came around to drop off like a coffee table, and my mum was like, concerned until then, and then she's like, oh, Sarah, he's lovely.
Aww.
So they were fine after they met him, yeah.
You own the home you share with Billy. Was that always the plan, to bring in a housemate?
Yeah, definitely. I was always planning to bring at least one or a couple of housemates in to help pay the bills. I also am too scared to stay home alone by myself, so I wasn't going to stay home until I got a housemate. Otherwise, my dad would have to come and stay with me. So yeah, his first night in the home was basically my first night as well.
Yeah, wow. Your first night living out of home.
Yeah.
Billy, were there any challenges after moving in?
No, I don't think so. I think we were, staying up till 1 a.m. most nights, actually, the first week or so, just chatting away, and time just got away. It felt natural. We enjoyed each other's company. And
were there any surprises for you, Sarah?
Not really surprises. He was a great housemate in the sense of his dinners were microwave meals, and there was no mess. Everything was perfect. I felt like the house smelled a bit like Lynx Africa. At first, I was a bit like, yeah, I do feel like I'm living with a boy, but I banned that, and it's all been good.
Love it. Billy, when did things begin to change for you?
I think probably after 2 or 3 weeks, I felt like I'd met someone that is, very genuine, warm, caring, and yeah, my instincts were exactly right. That's the person she is. And after a few weeks, I felt that I really liked her, and it went from there.
So you basically told her, I like you?
Yeah, look, I think we were staying up one night chatting, and then I didn't really have the nerve to, advance things. So Sarah was like, all right, I'm going off to bed, and went off and had a shower or whatever. And then I was like, sort of drummed up the courage and knocked on her door and said, do you think we could chat just a bit more? It was probably like 1 a.m. at this stage. And went from there.
Wow.
I expressed my interest, as Sarah says.
So you transitioned to dating. You were dating your landlord and your housemate.
That's right.
Wow. Sarah, what was that transition like?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I think I was sort of dubious at first. He said, we can just take things as slow as you like. I was like, yeah, but we live together, so there's no coming home from a date and then just being at home or anything. It was we just went from the day we met to chatting every night for the rest of time. So it was like an all or nothing scenario.
Did you keep your own bedrooms?
We did keep our own bedrooms and we kept our own bathrooms, and I think that's like a really good way to avoid a lot of conflict, because there's no can you put the toilet seat down or anything like that. I think that's been like a really key thing.
Billy, so your relationship didn't start out like a typical one?
Yeah, it kind of just evolved, over quite a short period of time, really. But I suppose when you're living with each other, that sort of goes quite quickly. Yeah.
Were you worried about dating your landlord and what might happen if things didn't work out?
I did at first, but then I think Sarah as a person, I thought, I liked her, and I thought I may as well take this opportunity, and it was worth the risk. Exactly. Wow. Yeah. So.
How has the relationship progressed?
Quite well. It's it's been 3 years now. So yeah.
And any other news around the relationship?
Do you want to reword that?
Well, I thought you were going to say it, but I suppose...
Anyone can.
Could you just start from the beginning, the question?
How has the relationship progressed?
Yeah, quite well. So we're now 3 years into the relationship, and
we just got engaged a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Sorry.
Do we want to do that again?
No, it's perfect.
That's fine.
That's perfect. Billy, are you still paying rent?
Well, look, I suppose Sarah has costs, so
So that's a yes.
Yeah, and it's gone up.
Yvonne, you've been sharing your home for more than a decade. What do you think you've gained from having housemates?
I've gained independence, because I'm the controller of my own life now. It's my home. People come and live with me. I'm not in an aged care place like my dear mother was, where it's so regulated. I've got my beehives and my cat. And so what I've gained is friendship. I've gained a huge social life. And can I tell a story about my cat? My cat, George, right? We had a person staying in my house who's a practising Muslim, and it was Ramadan. So she would get up in the morning at 4 o'clock and make a beautiful meal. And George the cat went, oh yeah, hours before Yvonne gets up. And every morning at 4 o'clock he'd be out there joining in the breakfast. But after a month, Ramadan finished. So George went to this person's door, put his paw under the door and yelled, screamed, get up and feed me. So the cat learnt a lot too.
Do you ever wish you had the place to yourself again?
Oh, no, no, not really. No, I don't. Because I've got a lot of friends who come around anyway, and having my house guests there and people Will introduces me to and all of that. No. And if I lived on my own, who'd put the garbage out? And the other day, the washing lady was too heavy for me to actually take to the dryer. Will, his English name is Will, Will, could you help me? Yeah. And if I lived on my own, where am I going to get that help from on a daily basis?
Wei Song, you were a student when you first moved in with Yvonne 12 years ago. Yeah. You're now an engineer. Yeah. Do you see yourself continuing to live there?
Well, for my career plan, probably because I'm a marine engineer, so I'm probably leave Tasmania to some place else, like Brisbane or not decided yet. but it's emotional things, you know, because I've been living here over 12 years. She will be my Aussie mom forever. but I'm sure I will back to Tassie regularly to visit her. And actually, I want my children to call her grandma in the future.
Getting all emotional here. Yvonne, how will you feel if he decides to move out?
Like a proud mum.
Oh,
yes.
really?
My children have lived with me, all 4 of them on and off, and they spread their wings and have got interesting occupations and lives. And I'd put Will Layaway Song down in the same category.
Did you expect to have such a close relationship with a housemate?
No, I didn't, because other housemates I've shared with.
Oh,
look. Now that is myself and Will with his parents.
Wow.
In China.
In China.
When
So you
I
went back?
Yes. My friend and I went to visit his family in China.
Wow. So you like family?
Yes, I believe so. And his mum, of course, came and stayed with us for Will's graduation. Oh, Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Will's mum came over to Tasmania and here we are with our winter clothes on at Christmas.
Of course.
Yeah.
You started sharing for financial reasons.
Yes.
Is it still about the money?
No. This is my lifestyle now. And I now believe that my mortgage is not as important and having people in my life is more important, and community is a big thing for me.
Margaret, you haven't had much luck trying to find a suitable housemate to help cover your rent. Are you still looking?
A week and a half ago, I got a phone call from a friend asking if the room was still available. Yes, it was. And he said that there's another lady that we both knew that couldn't stay in her home anymore and she needed somewhere urgently, and if I was prepared to have her there for a week's trial. And I thought, yeah, why not give it a shot? And we get along really well. She's someone I've known for ages, and it's such a relief just to have someone there that I can be myself, and she's respectful of my space, and so far so good.
Shaz, you live with your adult son. Do you ever miss your own space?
I do, but I also have my own space. So we have different lives, and I have a new partner in my life. And I go camping and I go to the nature's beaches and to nature's clubs and have my own world. He has his life, he goes out and that. But when I was actually on my own, I got very lonely. I think empty nester syndrome, they sort of call it, but it's really interesting because he's got a new relationship, I've got a new relationship, and we've been able to talk about that together, even though the relationships are different. We talk about his boyfriend, we talk about my boyfriend. It's really kind of nice.
Akshay, you moved back in with your parents to help care for them and to save some money. Do you see yourself there long term?
Probably much to their disappointment, no. I do want to move out, in the near future and get back to living my own life on my own terms.
Do you feel like that's an affordable option for you?
Ooh, again, it's the cost of freedom, and that's something I'm still debating, whether or not it's worth paying so much for such little privacy.
Broden, you and Nicole have been living together for about a year. You've now become close friends. Do you see yourself living together long term?
I think we both live lives that are just sort of like least sort of length at a time, and then anything could happen.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I'm happy at the moment.
Nicole, if Broden ever moved out, how would you feel about that?
I think I'd know that he was going to something great, He's got a new partner, and I'd like the idea. I'm a bit like Yvonne with the so proud. And so that would be okay, and I'd get back on with it and get back on flatmate.com and
would you miss
trust
him?
someone else. Yeah.
Would you miss him?
Yeah, of course.
Sarah and Billy, you met as housemates and are now engaged. When and where is the wedding?
I think we're planning the wedding to be at our house where we met, and also my nan lives close by. She's 90 and she's become like a second nan for Billy, and we spent a lot of time with her and we'd like her to be able to come. Her travel radius is pretty small, so we thought, Billy suggested, let's have the wedding at our house.
At home in the backyard, so yeah.
So perfect. Will you still keep your own bedrooms once you're married?
Why not, unless any children come along, and then I think, yeah, we'll see what happens. But where there's always a fight over the master bedroom and, you know, like we're switching regularly.
It's lovely to meet you both. Congratulations. Have a great wedding. Thank you for all your time. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you next time.